Hey, what's up, everybody? Let's get comfortable here. Let's talk to the people. Let's talk to the people. What's up, everybody? It's Tolly Carr, HBCU Game Day Studios. I'm here in Atlanta and hanging out with the guy, Uncle Neely. And of course, it is game week, so we don't want to dilly-dally too long. We want to get right to the guy. And there he is. What's up, Big Unc?
Hey, man, I am here. We are one day before game day, so it feels like a Friday, but it's a Wednesday. And we're just ready to play some ball. And the biggest thing that I want to know, and I want to know that the people out there want to know, is since our last live show together, have you paid the light bill?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those. Automatic draft type bills, and sometimes it's in there. Sometimes
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this, Tolly Carr, black man to black man. In my previous career, I set the record for being the last person in the organization to move to direct deposit. Man, put my money in my hand. I don't want it going to no account because I might not want it in that account that particular month.
Neely, you know how it is, man. Sometimes you just forget. Sometimes you got a couple of things that are, it felt good when you said auto draft. Yeah, I got it like that. But, sometimes the math don't be mathing. But I think we'll be okay. Let's say what's up to everybody. This is the pregame show Rewind. It has turned into a show. Unlike what we started, Neely, it's kind of the same thing a little bit, but we have added the live component. This is our third live show, so we really get a chance to talk to people in the comments. That's a beautiful thing. We do take a look back at storylines and just practices and videos and content and everything that's happened during the week. So this is a special week because we've been talking about fall camp for the last, month or so. Now it's time to get into the games, but there's still plenty of storylines away from the field because it is Deion Sanders. It is Coach Prime. It is a lot to get into. So first, let's acknowledge everybody that's in the chat. Big Mike, what's up? Tony Pierce, Christopher Gibson, we see you. LT, Louisiana Glenn, Reef, LT, got Brooklyn checking in. Neely, you have started the BBL trend. Why did you do that, Neely?
Hey, I just told the people what I call you from time to time in our text group, and I love to get your attention by saying BBL Tolly with the emoji of the guy yelling, BBL Tolly, BBL Tolly.
Where I don't even remember where it came from. I'm the nickname giver around here. I blessed you with Uncle Neely, and I don't even remember why I called you Uncle. I just did, and it has stuck. I'm not for sure I want this BBL Tolly to stick. I'm really not quite sure even what you mean by it when you say it.
I got to admit, Tolly, you were the one who coined the phrase Uncle Neely, and it stuck and took off. That was like 4 years ago or so. And I hope that BBL Tolly does not have the same synergy and energy and stick-to-itness that Uncle Neely has, because really just an inside joke. But if people are going to run with it, man, who am I to get in the way of the will of the people?
I just want to ask America, do I look like a BBL Tolly? Like I'm all natural. Like nothing that I have is working, but it is at least natural, Neely.
Well, that was part of the joke. The joke has to have a lie in it and a little bit of truth. I think one day you had done like 10 miles on the treadmill and then went out and cut the grass and did another 5 miles through the city of Atlanta. And I was like, okay, BBL Tolly, I see you changing up,
All right. Look, here's what I do, and we'll get to Colorado football. My goal, Neely, is just to maintain my married weight, okay? I've been married going on 14. Let me do the math. Yeah, 14 years. I'm just trying to maintain my marriage weight. That's all I'm doing. So I'll take BBL as a compliment. Now, Adrian. I don't know where you're going with that. I don't know where you're going with that, Adrian Coleman. We're going to let that stay right there in the comments. All right. Some pop culture I know. I know that. We're just going to let it stay right there. I have a few other black jobs I don't want to mess up. All right, Neely, it is game week, brother. You did promise you might go live from the dining hall this week. You let us down. You got us in a coach's room there in Boulder. But in all seriousness, the excitement level, the anticipation, the rest of the country still wants to talk about the Denver Post. We're talking about football, North Dakota State. What's 24 plus hours out? What's the vibe?
The vibe is electric, man. The student athletes, the coaches, support staff, everybody's ready to just play this game. We have been since spring ball, summer 1 conditioning, summer 2 conditioning, and now on the last day of fall camp, it's time to hit somebody else. Just as we were getting ready to go live, I was talking to Khalil Benson, offensive lineman transfer, came in, and man, he just told me, he's like, Coach, I'm ready to play. I'm just ready to get to this game. Like, everybody's focus is on tomorrow, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Of course, the game will be broadcast live on ESPN, on the big ESPN. And so folks here just dialed in, man. Talked to Coach Lee yesterday. He was talking about the last little things for the last 48 hours as you get into that 24-hour mode. So the focus here, man, is North Dakota State going 1-0 1 week at a time, but everybody is ready to play.
It did not slip by me that the players are still calling you coach when they see you. I heard you drop that in there.
Yeah, it's either coach, Unc, or OG. It's one of those three.
Which one do you prefer, Neely?
I just prefer to be called. In the words of Houdini, all I'm about is just rocking the mic. You can say what you want, just spell my name.
Neely, Neely. All right, we have talked about, people in the chat and the comments have talked about it, the run game, North Dakota State. Are they going to come in here and try to take the air out of the ball, take the air out of the crowd? Are they just going to try to control the clock, run the ball? Do you think that would be their game plan heading into this game against Colorado?
I think that would be the right approach on their part. If I was coaching over there, the one thing I would try to do is keep Shedeur Sanders on the bench as long as possible and keep his weapons, Jonte Wester, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr., Will Shepard, the list goes on and on, keep them on the bench right next to him. And the way you do that is run the ball and control the clock. I think that is going to be their strategy, is to come in with the ground game and try to just extend the game to limit our possessions by maximizing theirs, which is going to put a lot of emphasis on our defensive line. It's been revamped with Coach D. Lou coming in here, Coach Warren Sapp, and Coach Vincent Dancy moving up from analysts to edge rushers, and they're all in the same room, going through their mechanics together. The first thing they're going to have to do is stop the run unconditionally before they even attempt to do the pass rushing part of it, because that's the way that's going to flip the game and flip the clock. If we can, get those guys off the field in 3 and out. Let me stop right there. You have interceptions and you have fumbles, but one of the things you have to look at is that a 3 and out, systematically can be viewed as a turnover as well. You don't have to go for it on 4th down and not get it to be a turnover on downs. When you're forcing somebody into 3 and outs, that becomes the same thing as a turnover when you look at game management, because they weren't able to extend the drive and extend the clock. So I believe, Tolly, that they're going to come in and try to run the ball, just for the sole purpose of keeping what should be one of the most prolific offenses in college football off the field for as long as possible.
All right, so let's give this context, Neely. It is not unheard of. I would dare to say it happens once a year, at least, that a very good FCS program, FCS, formerly Division I AA, beats a D1 team. We see it. Doesn't happen every single week, but it's not unheard of. So, Neely, I would imagine the Colorado coaching staff and the players are not going into this game thinking, all right, Cupcake City, we got this. Let's just get out here, break a sweat, and move on. Like, they are taking these opponents from North Dakota State very seriously, because it is a very good, not just a good team, this is a good program.
Absolutely. So much so that you heard Coach Prime at Big 12 Media Day, kind of tongue-in-cheek, making a joke about it, saying, I don't know why Rick George scheduled this game, Rick George being the athletic director. North Dakota State is a historic powerhouse. People look at the 5 teams that we're going to face, who are ranked in the top 25 going on with our schedule, but they overlooked that North Dakota State is number 2 in the coaches poll in their division. They overlooked that North Dakota State has multiple national championships. This is a program that's known as a giant killer. In the past 14 years, they are 6 wins and 1 loss when they're playing up. And so we're not taking them for granted or looking past them whatsoever. A lot of respect for the opponent, the players over there, the coaching staff. They have players on that team who are 5 and 6 years in that same program. So they have veteran experience, particularly on the defensive line. We know what they're capable of. We know what they've done in the past. But this is just our job to make sure that the giant killer doesn't kill a giant, on Thursday night on ESPN. And that starts with us stopping the run. That starts with us limiting, our self-inflicted wounds. We were the number 2 most penalized program in the nation. We can't have that going into a team like North Dakota State who forces you into making mistakes. We have to play clean, disciplined football and then let our talent dictate the rest.
In the comments, there are some people pretty excited, they say, about the North Dakota State receivers as well, saying, hey, it's not going to be a 100% run game. Last question from the North Dakota State lens, which will be Thursday's opponent. Neely, how could they not be excited about this game? Like, this has to have Super Bowl vibes for them, opening up with the team that everyone's talking about with Coach Prime in Colorado to start their season.
It's amazing how when someone with the last name Sanders says something obvious, people get offended by it, and then they turn around and they start saying the same things themselves. And what I'm referring to is when you had a Shedeur Sanders say, hey, it's like we're everybody's Super Bowl. What he means is all eyes are on that game. And our opponents know that as well. Our first 4 games are already slated for national TV on each one of the different networks, this one being on ESPN. So here you have North Dakota State, a traveling opponent, getting to showcase their talents, their names, their skill sets, their coaching prowess on national TV. Of course they're up for it. Of course it's their Super Bowl because everyone is going to be watching, and there are going to be players on that team who try to make a name for themselves because they're trying to go, to the NFL as well. But before we get to the NFL, we also have to recognize their weight room has 45-pound plates in it just like ours does. Their football field is 100 yards just like ours is. So they work out, they're prepared, they're well-trained. They're going to come in and try to play this game to the best of their abilities because they understand that the world will be watching that Thursday night game, and what a better place to showcase your talent. What we have to do is not get caught up in that. Again, play disciplined ball, clean ball, penalty-free ball as best we can, and then let our talent, which we believe is significantly better, win the ball game.
All right, let's talk Travis Hunter here. He's the unicorn out there on the field. He can get it done as a cornerback. He can get it done as a wide receiver. Man, the mix that he had last year playing on both sides of the ball was insane, but he was able to do it, and the staff did not shy away from putting him out there, at least, while he was in good health. Did have that injury there against Colorado State last year that set him back a couple of games. Do you have any idea, any clue, any inclination of same sort of mix, more so one side of the ball or the other? What are your thoughts on what we might see this year out of Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball?
Well, when you termed it as far as this year goes, I think it's going to be 50-50. You'll see him just as much as receivers. You will see him at DB. As it goes for a particular game, that just depends on the situations, down and distance, the scoreboard, the time remaining in the game, all those kind of factors. I can tell you that through this fall camp, he spent just as much time, in both rooms as he has one or the other. When you have a unicorn in Travis Hunter who can do all things, you let him do all things. And so you don't tend to rest him so much during the games because he has a high motor, he's well conditioned, he can go. But you do pull him back in some practices. So you may have seen online, you watch videos, whether it's the pregame show or Reach the People or Well Off Media, that there's been sometimes this summer that Travis hasn't practiced. That's not due to some kind of injury. That's due to to workload and resting him. But now that we're in the season officially tomorrow night, you're going to see him at receiver. You're going to see him at defensive back. And I predict he's going to make an impactful play on both sides of the ball.
All right, if anybody needs load management, we are here for load management during the week for Travis, because he's going to give it to you, whether it be Thursday night, Friday night, or Saturday. He's going to perform on the field. So take care of those legs for sure. Neely, there's a lot of moving parts, or a lot of new parts, I guess would be the correct word there, from coordinators, the coaches, the players, and you have a chance to mesh in spring, and then you get some more players, some new faces in the fall. But it's just different when you go out there and actually play a game and you're hitting somebody else. What level of meshability, meshing will still be going on, if you will, against North Dakota State, do you think?
One thing I want to credit this staff with, and also these players, is to the degree that they have been able to mesh in a short time. When you look around, I'll start on the defense. And when you watch Coach Rob Livingston, defense coordinator, Coach Vincent Dancy, who elevated from analyst to defensive ends coach, Warren Sapp and Damian Lewis, defensive line as well as D-line analysts. These four guys, this is their first time working together. But when you're in a meeting with them or in a huddle with them on the field with them, you think they've known each other 20 years. And I think it's just a testament to their professionalism, to their all having high motors, to their all being goal-driven, and all having a high standard. So it didn't take a long time for this staff, to get to know each other and start working well together and coaching well together. And I think that's translated to the players. You've had guys like Shane Coates, on the D-line who was here last year, and you have a guy like Shedeur who transferred in from Houston. They look like they've been playing together 2 or 3 years. And I think it's so because the work ethic, the goal-oriented nature of the program that's taking place, that it doesn't matter how long you've been here. Once you get a couple of spring conditions, summer conditions under your belt, get a couple of installs under your belt, everybody's humming like a fine-tuned machine.
All right, Neely, we got some side conversations going on. This is always the question. People still can't quite get it right. I'm in the same boat. What time? What channel? How can we watch the game tomorrow? I know you said it before. Lay it out there again, Neely.
We'll keep laying it out all program live. It is going to be on ESPN. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Mountain. So that is the 8 p.m. Atlanta game, East Coast game, if you will. And so just look for it on ESPN on the Bid Network. It's not ESPNU or ESPN Ocho or ESPN 3.6. It's on the flagship ESPN, and you'll be able to catch it 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. All
right, let's talk Shedeur Sanders. He's one of these front runners, along with Travis Hunter, heading into the year as a Heisman hopeful. That's going to be interesting and fun to watch all year. He has always kind of hung his hat on his consistency, his high completion rate, or his high completion percentage. He's looked like a pro quarterback from the time we have seen him in college, in high school as well, but the world really started to see more of him at Jackson State, now at Colorado for 1 year, going into his second season. But Neely, you said he's added a little more to the bag in the offseason.
Yeah, I think he's stronger. A little leaner, but stronger in the legs. Like he said, he worked on his core some too. I think his arm strength is improved, but did not diminish any accuracy. And he understands, Tolly, that whereas he may have the individual numbers, to be in the Heisman conversation, whereas Travis Hunter will have the individual numbers to be in the Heisman conversation, you don't sit on that front row at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City unless your team wins. So these guys are focused on winning more than they are the individual accolades. We remember last year those first 1, 2, 3 games, even the fourth game, where they were still being talked about for Heisman, and then that went away because the wins went away. If you're going to be a Heisman front runner, although the award is billed as the best college player for the year, it's also attached to the winning record of that team. So the goal is to go 1-0 each week, let the numbers be what they are, and then we'll see where the Heisman ballot and talk is at the end of the year. But we on the outside, the peripherals of it, that's all you're going to hear these first coming weeks is Heisman this, Heisman that, because you do have the chance for 2 kids from the same program to be on the front row at the Downtown Athletic Club.
Neely, if Coach Prime was here or our friend Coach Carl Reed, they would not let us talk about anything beyond North Dakota State. They just wouldn't let us do it. But it's just me and you, Neely. We like to pontificate a little bit, and we like to look ahead and have fun with it. If this Colorado team actually strings those wins together this season and those close losses become close wins, big wins, whatever, they land in the win column, what type of potential for just hysteria do we have this season? And I'm basing this on the amount of talk that has been on Coach Sanders on First Take and all these other shows, and we hadn't played a game. I mean, they are fine-tuned on every little thing that happens in press conferences. We're going to start playing games now, Neely. If this team is, first 6 games, they're looking like, oh, snap. These are some real dogs, for real. What would that look like, Neely, across the world?
Well, I don't know how more center of the universe the center of the universe can be. And I'm talking about the football universe, because whether you're in NFL, high school, or college level, everybody's talking about Colorado football. And if you mess around and start winning games and putting up major numbers in those games and having prolific athletes play prolific football, it's just going to get deeper and deeper to the center of the universe. Clearly you're going to have a college game day come, big noon kickoff home. Last year they were here on the same Saturday, and the record was what it was. I can only imagine if you string these victories together and you get to that Baylor game and it's the first Big 12 game and you're hosting it. It's also homecoming. There's no telling what kind of energy and pop is going to be around this program. But like you said, Coach Carl Reed was here. We were doing the big boys. He wouldn't let us go that far, and Coach Prime wouldn't either. The focus is North Dakota State. But I will say this, Tom. One of the hurdles that's going to have to be overcome with this season and this team is for those first 1, 2, 3, or even 4 wins. Everybody's going to say, well, we saw this last year. We saw what happened early in the season. So I think for this program to prove that it is on the right track and truly moving forward, you're going to have to get to that 4th, 5th, and 6th win and get there convincingly before people really start to say, okay, I believe in this thing and this is something we need to be following and talk about more. Although, wink, wink, everybody's already following and talking about it more, and we haven't played the game.
Man, there are families eating good all across America just because their daddy shows up to work to talk about Deion Sanders. Neely, here's a name we don't talk about enough. I think it's hard to get those individual reps because there's so much talent and so much interest on this team. But Jimmy Horn Jr., what type of year do you expect out of him?
A breakout year, an explosive year. We've got a lot of weapons, on offense. But I think you're going to see not only Jimmy Horn Jr. do his thing from receiver, I think you're going to see him do it on special teams and punt return duty as well. Phenomenal talent, phenomenal speed. You just had Zay Weaver, who officially made the 53-man, roster. Him and Jimmy came from the same college in South Florida when they transferred here. And now this is Jimmy's year. You've added a LeJontay Wester. You've added a Will Shepherd. But I still think that there's more than enough ball to go around for Jimmy Horn Jr. to get his. And his speed and yards after the catch are really what's going to separate him in this conference and in college football spectrum.
Neely, you talked about this before, specifically when Coach Prime was at Jackson State. You talked about, a guy like James Houston wasn't there in the spring, came in the fall. A lot of people, it wasn't a nationwide buzz for him, but he turned out to be an NFL draft pick in that 1 year at Jackson State. Have you seen some players that weren't here in the spring that arrived in the fall? And I'm not saying that they're James Houston, but they have made an impact, that have impressed you with what you have seen.
Sure. LeJontay Wester, a receiver who's a transfer in. Chidoze on defensive line, who's a transfer in. Dallin Hayden, running back who transferred in from Ohio. These guys are, I would say, by week 3 to week 4 or 5 are going to be household names in college football because of the immediate impact they make. B.J. Green, who came from Arizona, is going to be a sack machine this year. I'm predicting double-digit sacks. So you had some transfer talent to come in here, just like Zay Weaver did last year. Came in here, knowing he had 1 year to prove it. And although he was not drafted, when he got to camp as an undrafted free agent, he made the roster. What you want to do is make the roster. And I think you have guys on this team who are more than capable of that. I'm predicting, anywhere from 5 to 8 guys who are going to be drafted from this team, in the first 4 rounds or less. The talent is here. The exposure is going to be here. Scouts are at every single practice taking notes. Every single practice we have, Tolly, there's a scout plus some here. So they recognize the talent that is here. And now we're finally roughly 24 hours away from them being able to show it on the field. But I do believe that we have some guys here that will be recognizable names before this season ends.
All right, Neely. when you look forward to the schedule, what are some games, man, that you look at, and I'm not saying you're looking at it win, loss, or whatever, but you just look at it and you see and you say, "Ooh, that's going to be fun." Like I think that one is going to be one that people definitely don't want to miss. Look, they're all going to be must see, but are there some that you look forward to and you're like, yeah, that one's going to be really good?
Absolutely. And then we preface it with the coach talk, with the coach speak. The goal is to go 1-0 each week. The goal is to not look past anybody, but you do have the schedule post up around the building. And here's some games that I like and can't wait to get a hold of. That trip to Florida, to Orlando to play UCF is going to be a good one. It's a travel cross country. Got to leave a day early. The impact that has on the team. Can't wait to see that one. Then you're going into Lubbock, Texas for Texas Tech. Can't wait to see that one. Then Thanksgiving weekend on Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, you got Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy and the Mullet coming into Folsom Field. So those three kind of jump out at me. But the biggest thing, Tyler, again, 1-0 each week, get to December 7th in Dallas for the Big 12 championship.
Each conference in the Power Four now all have an identity. Some teams are, some conferences are looked at, they play tough defense there. Some conferences, they're like, they don't play any defense. They just run and shoot. That's all they do. For people that are getting adjusted to the Big 12 atmosphere, if you will, what is the, what do people think of when they think of the Big 12 style of play?
Well, I think what's going to happen, regardless of what they have been thinking, Colorado is going to be the tip of that spear. You have some historic programs who have moved on, to the SEC, and you've got guys like Oklahoma State and Texas Tech who are still around. But I think Colorado is going to move to the front of that conversation just because of the polarizing personality that can be in head coach Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime. And then I think thereby, the style of this team will become the talk. And in college football across the board, Tyler, you can't win if you don't have a quarterback. If you've got the best quarterback on the field, you got a significant chance in winning, no matter what the other facets of the game are. And I believe we have the best college quarterback in the nation this year in Shedeur Sanders. So I think this program will be the bell cow for the Big 12. Having said that, you remember when the Pac-12 was on its demise last year, it went out with a bang. Several teams were ranked often before the conference officially shut down. If the Big 12 can accomplish that this year, I think you will have it moving, solidifying, if I can use that word from our friend Jake, solidifying its space as 3 in the Big 4, because everyone knows the SEC, is the driving force. You got the ACC who's having some issues, and then you also have the Big 10 out there. But I think with a successful Big 12 conference, a successful Colorado football in the Big 12, you can really start to see Colorado and the Big 12 become the talk of, say, hey, it's that third and second best conference behind the SEC with the goal of overtaking that one day.
Neely, the overriding conversation this week outside of the Colorado sphere, if you will, here in Atlanta on ESPN, they're still talking about the Denver Post reporter. Neely, I never thought this would be the story that just wouldn't go away. And it's Feinbaum is his hair might start growing back at the rate he's talking about it. Stephen A. has chimed in. A lot of people have chimed in. Is it still a big thing locally? Have people just kind of said it is what it is, or even, outside, from the outside, looking to the inside, the people there in the city still talk about it?
No. And it's never been a big thing. It stopped being a big thing the moment at the Fall Sports Media Day that Coach Prime addressed it. Everyone else has tried to keep it a big thing, but it hadn't been a big thing internally since then. And on that particular day, the reporter who was always writing negative stories with a negative slant, he admitted out of his own mouth, well, I had this coming. I don't know how you can admit you have something coming and then want to continue to play victim after the fact. Having said that, he has not been banned from press conferences. He can come to press conferences. They just don't take his questions. And Tolly, you've been in a press room on many occasions. And if you got 30 people from the press in there, it may be only 3 people who ask a question. Everybody gets the same information. Everybody hears the question. Everybody hears the answer. Just because you don't get your question, is really not that big of a damn deal in the media space. And for the Stephen A's and the Feinbaums to keep this going when it has been over and done with here, man, more power to them. But they're just off base and they're just misplaced, because to suggest that a head coach, because he's a head coach or because of his salary or because of who he is, whatever your measuring point is, to suggest that he has to answer someone's questions and that someone has only been divisive, has only been negative, has only called people out their name, I think that is just totally disrespect. And what price, what salary, do you have to give away your dignity? If I'm working at Wendy's and I got the fries going, am I allowed to talk back to somebody then? But when I make $1 million, I'm not allowed to say something back. We're all people. You have to choose who you want to deal with and who you don't. And Coach Prime took his stand. And sometime later, the athletics department and Rick George backed him up on it and said, no, he's exactly right. We won't be taking questions from that person. It's over and done with here. Why the world keeps talking about it, have no idea.
Neely, I think one of the things that happens here, kind of a social dynamic is, and you and I have talked about this, it's one thing to be a brother in a position and you can do exactly what you want to do because you either don't fear the fallout or the fallout is not going to affect you. And Coach Prime is a unicorn in many ways in that regard, because let's just be honest, you get a brother in as a head coach at this level, he's looking over his shoulder from day one to make sure he doesn't mess anything up and he stays within good standing of whatever the societal norms, expectations, pressures, you name it. But if you don't know anything about Coach Prime, he's going to march to his own beat and he's going to do things the way he wants to. And he certainly has that right, just like any other coach does.
He not only has that right, he has perfected it. And in his perfection of it, he hadn't lost a damn thing. It's not like when he stopped taking this guy's questions that KFC pulled the commercials. It's not like when he stopped taking these guys' questions that Blenders and Nike wanted their sunglasses and shoes back. In fact, when he stopped taking these guys' questions because of the manner in which he stood his ground and did it, they tripled down on everything. Now you're seeing more KFC commercials. So, you have to understand, Coach Prime dances, but there has to be music playing. Coach Prime laughs, but there has to be something funny. He ain't scratching if he ain't itching, and he ain't dancing if ain't no good music playing. And most people don't get to live in that space. Most people have to code switch when they get to work. They talk one way at home and have to talk another way when they're on the job. If Coach Prime wants to break a verb, he's going to break a verb whether the room is all white or the room is all black. He is who he is, and he stands on, as we say, business. And that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but it also encourages a lot of people. A lot of people out there, black, white, poor, whatever, downtrodden on their job, they went to work the next day and their back was a little straighter because somebody stood up to a bully.
Those KFC commercials are on the increase. I am just, TV's on in the background and all I hear is legendary. I'm like, I wonder how many times Shedeur had to do that line, legendary.
I love the DirecTV commercial, where he's a pigeon with a gold chain and the cowboy hat on. That's the one I love.
Yeah, that one is in the atmosphere as well. I'd like to say what's up to the 727 people who are in the chat. If you got any questions, if you want to rep your hometown, where you're from, we always have somebody from Mississippi show up in just some town that.
I tell you what, Ollie, I took a glance at the chat, some comments ago, and somebody said, look at Neely, I'm paraphrasing, how dare him disrespect Utah and Kansas State. I guess they're saying that because I didn't mention their names. Well, forgive me, Tolly, but I thought you asked me what games I was looking forward to. And I told you the games I was looking forward to, which was the trip to UCF, which was the trip to Lubbock, Texas, and then Oklahoma State coming in here. Just because I say I like pizza don't mean I'm pissing on chicken. Y'all got to stop taking stuff to your feelings because somebody done mentioned what you would mention, that they're dissing something else. I answered Tolly's question, and I said the games that I was looking forward to. And if they take that as disrespect, well, only a hurt dog hit dog hollers.
Now, Neely, you appear on all these podcasts, all right? You got all these other live shows, and people will come on your other live show saying I I attack people in the comments. And look at Neely. Neely is coming for next today. I'm just here facilitating.
I didn't attack. I just responded. If they hadn't attacked nothing, I wouldn't have had nothing to respond to.
All right, I'm just saying, when y'all come on Chico's show and say I be all in the comments coming for people, I mean, just, you know.
Again, Tolly, you asked me to get past the coach talk of going 1-0 each week, and what games was I looking forward to? And I will say again, looking forward to that Central Florida trip, looking forward to that Texas Tech Lubbock trip, and looking forward to when Oklahoma State comes here. Those are games that I can't wait to see.
All right, we're gonna get what's her name? What's my old girlfriend? She gonna show up. She gonna show up in Boulder, Neely.
Well, I will be here.
Hey, Alonzo Johnson, what's up? He's in Selma, Alabama. Martin in Houston, Texas. Martin Wheatfall in Houston, Texas. We got some Jersey in there. Miami, Florida. Liberty, Mississippi is in the house. We see you, RJ. Fort Dodge, Iowa. Greenville, South Carolina. Got some more VA in the house. VA, we doubling down on VA. McCombs, Mississippi. All right, Neely, you ever been in trouble in McCombs, Mississippi?
You know, coming back from New Orleans, I should have stayed the night instead of trying to be here on drive home. You love when you see that McCombs sign because you're like, Lord, I done made it. So shout out to McCombs, Mississippi. That let you know you're back.
Yes, sir. I know the feeling. All right, people talk about, reporters and press conferences. There's a lot of things that do not get national attention. One thing here on the Rewind, a storyline I'd love to revisit. Coach Prime opened a special bank account for players on his team that are fathers. And he deposited, $2,121 in each bank account. That's 21. That is 21. Can you do something for me? Like that 21 did something for you. Neely, that was a really cool moment this week.
Yeah, it really was, man. And to just think that as you revisit the nonsense going on about a reporter's question not being taken, that here it is, a head coach partners with a credit union to gather up the fathers on the team to make sure that their children have checking and savings account and are getting the skill sets as a family to have money where it is earning money and compounding interest, that gets not talked about or watered down because we want to talk about some guy who can't get his question answered. But Coach Prime is still focused on the main thing, and that is making these guys professionals on and off the field. And the tip of that spear in his mind is being a good father. He has told them time and time again, you are not a baby daddy. I don't care what your relationship is with the child's mother, whether it is great or good or bad or average. We're going to make sure that you're doing all that you can and doing right by the child because the child was not involved in whatever happened between y'all. And so one of the things we're going to do is put them on a path to financial solvency. And we're going to start these accounts with 21 in them. And Coach Prime even said, what we will do is I'm going to make sure it's cool with the NCAA before I do it, but I'm going to double it. So I'm going to add another 21 on top of y'all's accounts. And this was for the guys who currently have children or the guys who know that they got one on the way. But Coach Prime is always going to get you a quick jab in there. He said, hey, now this 21 don't mean go out there and make no more. Don't this it right here. But to have a forward-thinking head coach like that who wants to take care of these young men on and off the field and make sure they're equipped with the right things, I think it's just a watershed moment in sports history. More and more people should be talking about it. And I think more and more colleges and universities should be trying to replicate it and duplicate it where they are.
I tell you, man, that is amazing because, look, you're a father, I'm a father, you're now a grandfather. It feels good to go out and buy your kids toys and make sure they have shoes so they don't get picked on like we got picked on for showing up with bobos and fish heads. And, look, all that's great, right? But how do you start generational wealth? How do you fill the gap? How do you break the curse? Like a bank account, like real money that can build over time. So when you become of age, you don't start your life, check to check. You don't start your life having to defer your dream just because you have to survive because there's nothing there to bounce back on. That is Man, it feels good. It sounds great, but it's even huger. That's not a word, Neely. It's even bigger in reality than even how it sounds, if that makes any sense. Like the impact that it can have.
Sure. Comment just went across from Jesse Marion, talking about learning what compounding interest is a great lesson for these young men to learn. You're exactly right, Jesse. I mean, here's a child. Most of the kids on the team are anywhere from 3 months to 6 years old, and now they're going to have 21, 21, possibly double that, 42, 42 in an account that's earning compounded interest. I mean, you're looking at potential when they walk out of high school, they got 100 grand because of the way the compounded interest works, and that's something that's not taught. Particularly in the Black community. The same thing with the path to generational wealth being life insurance. I talked to Coach Prime at practice after he did that presentation. He looked right into the camera and said, "Man, just think of these guys making this NIL money." Would sit down with their parents and get life insurance policies, on their parents, and the generational wealth and knowledge that can create that other communities have been doing for generations. He is making sure that he pours everything he can into the people on this team, and not just out there on the football field for NFL or in the house for NIL, but making sure that as fathers, that as professional men to be, that they have all the tools in their toolbox to be successful well beyond football.
And Neely, as I ride around Atlanta, and every day, there's a segment where Coach Prime will come up, and people want me to believe, based on their opinion, that this is a flawed man who's just got all these issues. He's in his feelings. He's too sensitive. Folks, this is me repeating other people's sentiments. This isn't me saying that, okay? Because you all can sometimes take things literally. And then you look at something like this, like Neely, the scale of a man's character, his intentions, his goodwill, his heart. If you look at these things, man, I don't see how you can overlook this and come back to press conference material here.
Yeah, I don't. Let me just speak personally, Tolly. I didn't go to high school with Deion Sanders. I don't know what kind of guy he was at North Fort Myers High School. I didn't go to Florida State with him. I don't know what kind of guy he was there. I didn't play in the NFL with him, so I don't know what kind of guy he was there. I just know what I saw on TV. But this is my fifth consecutive season being with him, practically joined at the hip, day-to-day basis, inside and outside the program. And what you see is what you get. He did this same thing at Jackson State. It wasn't necessarily for fathers on the team, but he had partnered with Hope Credit Union to start financial literacy classes for the guys on the Jackson State team, and wanted to expand that, to all sports, and was working on that before his departure. He's just a visionary in that regard. People throw arrows and throw darts and shoot bullets and do everything else they can, to bring him down. But he's really just unfazed by it, unbothered by it, because he understands, that you don't know David unless you have a Goliath. You don't know Noah unless you have a storm. And there's so many other analogies you could give, that he knows that goes along with the process, that there are going to be attacks. But the goal is to not let the attacks take you off your mission. And his mission is rebuilding a winning program at Colorado to a national championship level. And on the path to doing that, making sure that every young man in his program is able to become a professional on and off the field and be a great father. He puts emphasis daily on fatherhood, so much so that it's even beyond the kids here who have kids. It's just anybody in the building. He'll tell you that the first order of business before he hires a staff person is, are they a good father? Because there's no way he's going to put a guy over a team that ain't hitting up the team that he's supposed to be over anyway. So he will tell you his first thing he looked for to a good father. Because if you can't be a good father, you can't be a good coach. So he gets the connectivity of all this, and none of what they say about him negatively, or when they don't report the good stuff, makes him not do the good stuff. He's mission focused.
All right, Neely, people are asking some football questions here. Let's get back to the game here on The Rewind on the Pregame Show Network. Neely, people want to know, celebrities. We saw plenty of celebrities last year. Do you anticipate the celebrity train starts tomorrow, or are they going to need to kind of see what's going on and then get warmed up? What do you think?
I think it starts tomorrow, because I think you got some quote-unquote celebrities out there who are not fair weather fans. They're supporters of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, Gillian Wallow, for instance. They're going to be there whether the wins are piling up or the losses, and they're there with the right intent and the right spirit. So I think you're going to have celebrities here for this first game. I think there'll be somewhat of a drop off because we have 2 road games. We go to Nebraska and then Colorado State. So a lot of times you don't get his celebrity friends to meet us on the road, so to speak. But when we come back for that first home game against Baylor, which is also, second home game, but first Big 12 game, I think they'll be, like he says, looks like the BET Awards down there on the 20-yard line. So I'm expecting some of his friends, to be here.
All right. Tavon Cooper wants to know, Unc, have you seen the uniform combo for tomorrow's game? Can you give a little teaser?
I cannot give you a little teaser other than I have seen them, but I have not seen the final, combination. Coach Prime will be working on that today. He loves to lay it out on the floor with the shoes, with the wristbands, with the helmets. So don't know what final combination it will be. But I do also know that in the games after that, you'll still be seeing different uniforms. Smitty with Coach Prime and Nike have put together enough combinations that we can look like we're in a totally new uniform and actually be in a new uniform for the 12 regular season games and beyond.
The shoe game this year. What do you think the shoe game will be like?
You know that the shoe game is going to be up there with the Nikes that have been brought back and selling off the shelves like crazy. And there's also some new color combinations. Coming out for the fall season as well. So you always got to look down. Coach Brown would tell you he dresses from the bottom up. That you start with the shoes first. Never pick out your shirt, your jacket, your hat, your pants. You pick the shoes first, dress from the floor up.
It's got to be the shoes, Bunny. It's got to be the shoes. And Neely, I saw finally a little acknowledgement of this year's theme music. We talked about this last week on The Rewind right here on the Pregame Show Network. You weren't quite sure what was going to happen. I believe your words were, this is as late in the season that you have gone without hearing about what the theme music might be. But Coach Prime kind of went a little different direction this year, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And what he did yesterday at practice, yesterday being Tuesday evening's practice, he huddled up the team and pulled out the leaders. Those are the guys who wear the L's on their jerseys. He has leaders and dogs. So starting with the leaders, he said to them, you guys are going to come up with the week 1 theme music. So y'all get together and let me know what you pick. Then today, which is Wednesday, the day before the game, at the team meeting this morning, he asked them, had they come up with something yet? And they said they were still working on it. And he played for the team his standby in case they're not ready for week 1. He has something in mind, and I do know what it is.
Okay. All right. So
you want to hint, Tolly?
Will it mess up will it get us muted on YouTube? We don't want to mess up the coin, Neely.
Yeah, so here's a little hint for you. The artist is DMX.
All right. So that narrows it down. Lose my mind up in here?
No.
Where my dogs at?
No. See, you're thinking too safe. You got to think radio version. What do you want from her?
With Cisco. We're gonna have a Cisco sighting. All right. That's gonna take some. The DJ's gonna have to. Well, no, there was a radio version for that. Yeah.
You got the radio version, you got the instrumental version, but I think the theme and the backdrop of this is like, hey man, what more can I do? Like, what y'all want from me?
All right, I'm with it. Big DMX fan. I am with it. I was listening to Money, Power, Respect on my run this morning.
I love Rudy H. Wright. They use the emoji. They used the emoji for the radio version. They got the ninja emoji.
Neely, somebody, I just got a commercial. Somebody said they just touched down in Nebraska, and they just touched down in Boulder. I was reading something else about Nebraska. They want to know where to eat. You got any restaurant recommendations for people who have rolled in for the game tomorrow?
Check out the Buff. It's called the Buff. TheBuff. It's not far from campus. Excellent breakfast brunch place. Man, the portions you would not believe. Go to the Buff.
All right, so that's for Dr. Barry Ingram. Neely says go to the Buff. They want you to be a meteorologist as well. Unconquerable Detroit wants to know weather conditions tomorrow in Colorado.
I have not checked because we're going to play regardless. If it's been anything like the past couple of days, it has been like probably in the lower 80s, upper 70s around 6 p.m. So, Colorado with its boulder, with its lack of humidity, but its abundance of sunshine, when it's in that high 70s, low 80s, you can get away with a light jacket or also be in a tank top. So you're going to see all kinds of different clothes when the weather is like that, because it won't be a cold night, but it's not going to be flaming hot either.
All right, we'll take that. Louisiana Glenn, Neely. Not a football question, but they want to know, when is the beard oil coming out?
We got a September target. I just approved the labels last week, so it is coming.
Now, how are we going to be able to get this beard oil?
Through Faced by Jazz. Faced by Jazz is a beauty ointment, facial cream business that you order from online or shop in person in Atlanta, GA. And so you'll be able to order it online, but it is definitely coming in the month of September. Uncle Neely's beard oil.
And what type of magic will this do for your beard, Neely?
Man, just keep you looking good like Uncle Neely. It's Tolly. One thing I got to say, brother, you had the high top fade coming. The fans were loving it. Then you cut it back off. I don't know why you abandoned. You had the Chia Pet Tolly coming, and now you cut it back down low. Same thing with the beard. You just gotta beard gang it up and let it grow on out, man.
If I put your beard oil up here, will it not be as thin? Will it thicken back up right up here, Neely, with the beard oil? If so, give me a case.
It's a beard oil. It's not the tears of Jesus. It can't work miracles now. Like you're going a little too far. You got to temper your expectations, bro.
Well, do they sell the tears of Jesus anywhere, Neely? I just need to. I need to get this tight up here.
Man, you should just kept it growing so you do the comb over.
I told the barber just to trim it up, and then he kind of cut it down. But it's cool. This is my Jason Tatum's uncle haircut. I just like, you Jason Tatum's uncle. I see. Back in the day, you had that little thick helmet up there. So I'm all good. I'm all good with it.
Tatum's uncle. You have gone from BBL Tolly to JTU Tolly in a single live episode.
Dude, I'm just trying to not be a papa. If I can just ward that off, just ward off all the papa vibes, I'll be good. Neely, this will be the coaching debut for Warren Sapp. Now he says he's going to do all his emotional stuff during the week. If they're not ready by Thursday, he ain't do his job during the week. But still, I would imagine you're going to have a side eye to see how Warren is reacting during the game.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it. I tell you, man, during the scrimmages, which there are officials out there and we manage it like a game, he has stuck to his word and been relatively quiet. If you know Warren Sapp, that can be a big distance between the Warren Sapp and silence. But he has said that, man, that's just his style, that when it is in teaching mode and practice mode, you're going to hear him. But when it comes to game day, it's execution mode, and he coaches more in silence then. So we will find out tomorrow in about 24 hours or so how much Coach Warren Sapp is actually quietly coaching during a game versus you hear him before you see him, Warren Sapp, in practice.
I don't think, Neely, he's going to be able to hold out. I don't see a world in which he's out there watching his babies, as he says, and he's just, I don't see it. It might start out that way. Maybe the first two series. By that third series, Neely, I think he's going to be wide open. He's got to be. I want him to be.
Yeah. I love it. I want him to be as well. But I do know this. If he says it, he does it. So I'm going to lean toward keeping him at his word, and he knows who he is and how he is to navigate. But I'm with you, Tolly. I think that Warren Sapp is going to come out at some point.
You can't keep it in. You cannot keep it in. Neely, you just released a Wednesdays with Warren on the Pregame Show Network earlier today as we talk here live. For all you guys watching it live, in case you watch it on the replay, it's going to have been out a little while longer, of course. What is Warren Sapp talking about this week?
We actually did this segment right out there on Folsom Field, since it was the Wednesday before game day. And we talked about, what it was like for him in Miami, coming out week one, first game as a player. Talked about what he's been pouring into these players the last week leading up to this game, as well as, just chit-chatting in general about the philosophy for this game, which was stop the run, stop the run, stop the run. And if we can force them into the passing attack, then our secondary can clean that up, and we're going to get to the quarterback and start getting some sacks in the back half of the game. But the emphasis for him was, stopping the run, and then third, stopping the run. Pretty good episode, man. Also got a segment in there where you see Shane Coates pays a visit to his office to sit in there with Warren Sapp one-on-one to review not Colorado and North Dakota State film, but looking at some plays from Warren Sapp's career and what he did to make those plays happen. So that's a real good moment to see a sensei and a student pouring into one another.
All right, Jesse Marion has a good question. Will Charlie be the first back on the field with the offense? Talking about Charlie Offerdahl. Great story from walk-on to scholarship. But now it's time for the rubber to meet the road. Will we see Charlie?
Absolutely. I've maintained all summer long that Charlie Offerdahl, who was able to crawl and work his way up from walk-on running back to RB1, and same thing through fall camp. I was always saying, if the game were this week, he would still go out there as RB1. Well, the game is tomorrow, and he would go out there as RB1. I do believe you're going to see other backs get carries, and I do believe as the season goes on, you're going to see more balance and even parity in who gets the carries. But as far as this North Dakota State matchup, week one at home, Charlie Offerdahl will certainly be the first back out there and the first one to touch the ball.
All right, we got a couple of minutes here left in the live stream. We just try to keep you guys for an hour. We got other stuff we got to do, especially Neely. You can maybe hear his stomach grumbling. When's the last time you've been in there bugging Chef about what's going on, Neely?
I'm going to walk right out that door, go around the team meeting room to the cafeteria. That's the first order of business when I leave here. Lunch started about an hour ago, which is the same time we started the live show. So I'm about 58 minutes behind on my meal.
Uh-oh.
And
what time does the kitchen close?
Neely ain't happy when he late for me.
All right. Hence why we do an hour show when we start at 1 Eastern. I want to get a couple more questions in here. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but the breakout receiver tomorrow night, do you think it's the Jimmy Horn show? Do you think it's Travis? Breakout receiver.
You always got to go Travis with anything he's on the field for. He can break out at any moment. But I tell you who I like, man. I love as far as breakout, who we don't get enough mentions, and that's Will Shepard, number 14, who transferred here from the SEC from Vandy. If Shedeur and him connect on something, it's going to be special. Will is a big body receiver, nice hands, nice routes. If you throw it at that back pylon back in the end zone, he's going to bring it down. He's going to get every 50-50 ball thrown his way. So if I have to talk about a guy for a potential breakout, meaning a guy that you're just not really aware of yet, it'd be Will Shepard.
All right. They were literally typing that the same time that you were saying it. So there definitely are some Will Shepard fans out there. Looking forward to tomorrow's game. All right. One more time, Neely. Game time. Where can you watch it? Who we're playing? Sometimes people, they got to get used to the season starting. Let's give them the information one more time.
It is officially week one of college football. College football adapted to the demands of the market and added a week 0. We are now officially into week one, going into Labor Day weekend. You start Labor Day weekend that Thursday evening. So you got college games on. And if you go to ESPN at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. Mountain, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, you will be able to see the Colorado Buffaloes host the North Dakota State University Bisons here at Folsom Field. So ESPN, the Bit Network, not ESPNU, not ESPN Ocho, not ESPN Max or whatever else they got. ESPN, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern, North Dakota State, Colorado, week 1. The season is here.
All right, we'll get you out of here, Neely, on this. 2 questions into one. A breakout defensive lineman that you might see tomorrow, and a prediction range of the final score.
So if you give me a lineman, I'm going to go edge rusher and go BJ Green, who transferred in from Arizona. I got him at 3 sacks tomorrow, Tolly. 3 sacks. And maybe 2 tackles for loss. He's a beast off to the edge with a high motor. Final score. Now you got to go do the pluses on these. Give me Colorado 31. That means 31 or up. And give me North Dakota State 10.
All right. There you have it. I hope we satisfied you in the comments on this week's episode. I'm just happy that the light stayed on for the whole show, because last week was a bit of a fiasco. This week actually went pretty smooth, so that's a good thing. Neely,
and to the 708 who are still watching us live, before we log off, go up there, hit that little thumbs up button. It all helps.
And we'll have to decide, Neely, if because you and I have tossed this around. Do we want to talk again this week? After the game, maybe Friday. Do we want to give them a whole, another 7 days before we come back? So you have probably, another minute or so before the stream will end. So let us know in the comments. When do you want to hear from the Rewind again live now that the season has started? Because we're here for the people. We're here to give the people what they want. And if you're going to support, it helps our business model. So we're not mad about it.
Yeah, you sound like the old televangelist who told his congregation, if y'all don't tell me y'all want me, the Lord going to call me home. Y'all make sure y'all let me know.
So we got Tears of Jesus, BBL Tolly, and Atella Evangelist. And
JT Tolly.
Yeah, and Jason Tatum's uncle. So I've been all over the place this week.
But the light stayed on. The light stayed.
Yes. And before they turn the lights out, Neely, show was going good. I hit the wrong button. What button am I looking for? I'm looking for this button right here. There it is. That's the full screen to let you know you've been watching the Pregame Show Rewind right here on the Pregame Show Network. You can check us out at thepregameshow.com. You're right here on YouTube. Make sure you stay subscribed, get all those alerts. Until next time, he's Uncle Neely. It is game time, boys and girls. We'll see you whenever you say you want to see us again. Enjoy the game.
I thought that was another good one, man.